corner, yeah, just around the corner. It's you at last, so let's raise a glass and celebrate. It's starting to feel like the holidays. Oh yes it is, it's getting real. It's starting to feel like the holidays. Like the holidays. Like the holidays. Like the holidays.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
All right, good afternoon. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners December 4th, 2023 meeting to order. If you'll please join me, if you'll stand and join me in an invocation, Commissioner Smith is going to lead us.
Lord, you have also instructed us to pray for our governing officials, and we come to you in the spirit of this petition. We pray for our national, state, and county government and its executive, legislative, and judicial servants. May they indeed be servants unto the people and govern in a virtuous manner that protects the right to life, liberty, and property. May they all heed your mandate in Romans 13:4 to be in positions of authority as God's servant and for the good of the public. They govern in what we confess are difficult times. May they plead with you to give them wisdom, and may your grace to govern wisely be poured out on them. Protect us from the oppression and loss of freedoms that other countries have experienced, and help us to value and preserve freedom, which we know comes only from you. In the most holy and precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I will lead us in the organization of the board. The first item of business that we have this afternoon is to elect the chair for the upcoming 2023-2024 Board of Commissioner term. The general statutes provide each year that at its first meeting in December, the board shall choose a chair and a vice chair. Voting can be done by voice, by rising, by show of hands, or by ballot. In the past, the board has voted by ballot, and there is one at your seat if the board chooses to vote by ballot. Please remember that if you do vote by ballot, you must sign the ballot. At this time, I'll open the floor for the board to determine how they want to vote on the chair.
They vote by ballot.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of voting by ballot, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, if you'll take your time, and then I'll come around and grab them.
Which one's for which? Okay, and the results are, we had 2 for Cameron Sharp, and we had 5 for Commissioner Kirk Smith. So Commissioner Kirk Smith will be the chairman for the upcoming year. Now, if you'll take, the next order of business is voting for the vice chair. If the board will make a motion to vote by ballot if the board so chooses.
Move to vote by ballot.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, at this time, if you will mark your ballot for vice chair, and we'll come grab those. We have some people Okay, and the results of that vote was there were 7 for Dr. Connect. So Dr. Connect will be the vice chair for the upcoming year. The third order of business is to approve the resolution fixing the time, date, and place for regular meetings. The resolution will cover where the board will meet for their regular meetings throughout the 2023-2024.
We will publish the resolution in the Sanford Herald after it has been adopted. And at this point in your packet, we are still suggesting keeping the board at the McSwain Center Auditorium for its first official place for the first meeting of the month, and the Civic Center for the second meeting of the month, so we can have the joint public hearings with the planning board. We have also added a few other meetings in there, such as your board retreat, and changed the time for the first meeting in December, since we typically do that. And we are suggesting keeping the time at 6 p.m. Are there any questions on that resolution? Okay, if I can have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, and the last order of business is to vote to approve the official bonds for the upcoming year. North Carolina law requires that the board approve and adopt the bonds for the sheriff in the amount of $25,000, the register of deeds in the amount of $50,000, and every other officer in the county that provides the faithful performance of his or her duties, including the tax administrator in the amount of $100,000, and the finance officer in the amount of $1 million. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? All right, and now I am done, and I'll pass this over to the chair.
Thank you, Madam Attorney.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You have the agenda in front of you. I do have an additional item to add to the agenda, approval of Sourcewell contract for playground equipment for the O.T. Sloan Accessibility Park Project. Going to add that to the consent agenda, as well as a proclamation honoring a community member. And then we will be adding a closed session for North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3. We're going to add a closed session onto today's agenda. Anything else to add to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Yes, I moved.
Motion's been made to approve the agenda as amended, adding those 3 items to the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'll need an approval of the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Motion's been made to approve the consent agenda as amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We have no public comments. Moving on to old business. We have no old business. New business. Willowbrook Farms, Phase 3 Preliminary Subdivision Plat. Thomas.
Hello and good afternoon, commissioners and staff. This item begins on page 125 in your packet. I also have a handout or a printout I gave to you at each of your seats as well. So, Lamco Custom Builders is seeking approval of a preliminary plat for the 3rd and final phase of Willowbrook Farm subdivision. The planning board met on Monday, November 20th, and voted unanimously to approve the plat, and they did so without any substantive discussion. The 3rd phase will comprise the remaining 33 lots intended for single-family homes. The proposed plat does comply with the associated restricted residential zoning district, otherwise known as RR. The internal streets, including Willowbrook, Ridgewood, and Greenfield Drives, and the water mains along those roadways were completed by the previous developer, Mr. Donald Simpson. I believe the project started back in 1988, in fact. Lamco Custom Builders intends to repair and improve those roadways where necessary in order for DOT to accept those streets for maintenance. And Mr. Tony Toro with Lamco has been in discussions with the City of Sanford's Public Works Department to make sure those water lines are still in good condition. So, The subdivision will be served by on-site private septic, and a soil report and associated soil quality map are included in your packet as well. That was prepared by Mr. Hal Owen of Hal Owen and Associates. And in closing, if approved, the preliminary plat will be valid for 2 years. NCDEQ and NCDOT approvals will be required for the project to move forward, and all public infrastructure must be installed or improved prior to the recording of the final plat. And if the developer is responsible for dedicating those public streets to NCDOT for maintenance once all other requirements are met. And I'll pause there for any questions you might have.
Questions for Thomas? Commissioner Carver?
No question.
Commissioner Lovick?
No questions.
Commissioner Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Taylor? Vorbeck, I'm sorry.
You're fine. I just had two questions.
Sure.
What, and it's not necessarily related to this, but what is the, is there any type of sidewalk requirement or anything? Okay, that was one question. And then two, I know this is probably me just being weird and looking at maps and nitpicking. I noticed that two of the plots that they've put in, it's like 20 and 21, based on like the suitable soils and provisional suitable soils. Is that on someone's like due diligence to look at, or is that something the builder lets them know that they've already found?
Sure. You're asking about, like, some of them are identified for provisionally suitable soils from modified
Yeah,
systems?
because one of the things that I was reading was saying that
Sure.
even to get a septic, it's going to have to be low and super expensive, so I was just curious.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
It's potentially possible that they lose a lot or two, right? But the soil
Okay.
scientists did say, hey, the soil's here, I'm not a soil scientist, but like, the soil's drained well enough that you could, if you're willing to buy a slightly more expensive special septic system, you could build a house there.
Okay.
theoretically. And just so you know too, if this is approved and a builder does construct a home on there, that septic system would have to be reviewed and approved by Lee County Environmental Health anyway, too. So
Okay.
they'll make sure of that.
Perfect, thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Reeves?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Sharp?
None.
Do I have a motion to consider the preliminary major subdivision plat?
So moved.
Motion's been made to consider the preliminary major subdivision plat for the third and final phase of the Willowbrook Farms subdivision. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to the next item, fiscal year 2022-23 financial statement presentation. Ms. Candace Eisman.
Good afternoon. Today we have the fiscal year 2023 financial update. The draft statements have been distributed. We are still waiting on LGC approval. Those financial statements were submitted to them on November 17th. The final statements will be distributed once received, and Alan Thompson from Thompson Price Scott Adams is here for the audit review. And I'll let him go ahead and talk first.
Well, good afternoon. You should have in front of you in your packet too a presentation summary here. The main thing you hire us to do as an audit firm is to issue an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. And we issued an unmodified report, which is a quote-unquote clean report. There were no financial performance indicators, so you don't have to respond to the LGC. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to push a button to make it all work, but yeah, awesome. It's all good. There was a new accounting standard that was out there this year. It was GASB 96, which is subscription-based information technology arrangements, which is basically taking anything that you have a subscription for, like if you had bought software updates that are more than 1 year in duration, they're asking you to monetize that on the balance sheet and expense that on your income statement as if it was a note, is the best way to describe that. It's kind of like GASB 87 last year, where they asked you to do the same thing regarding leases. I'm not here to try to justify that because I personally don't like it or agree with it and think it overly complicates the balance sheet and has no real value. but I'm just an accountant, an auditor, and I do what I'm told. There were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. There were no uncorrected misstatements or disagreements with management. We were provided a representation letter dated November 14, 2023. Going forward, I think if you've been on the board for a long time, probably 3 years ago, they used to issue, LGC would send you a letter and ask you to respond. They stopped that, and they basically asked the auditors when they come in and present the audit and say, hey, here's what, fill out this long worksheet, and if something pops up, we want you to tell them about it, and that will be our letter to the board. We did that. Nothing popped up, if you will, so there is no response required to the Local Government Commission, which speaks well of you. The main thing that I'd love to transmit to you, because there were no financial findings whatsoever, it says a lot about you, manager, finance staff, and your other department heads, that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I appreciate you allowing our firm to do the audit. And again, you got an unmodified report, or quote-unquote clean report. I'm happy to answer any questions, not just now, but anytime you might be going through the audit report. You're always welcome to call the office. If I happen not to be in, please ask them to give you my cell number, and I'll do my best to get you an answer as quick as I can.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Thompson? Commissioner Sharp?
None, but I would like to say thank you to the county manager and the finance office for all the good work. It's been many, many years. This same report has been reported to us, and thank you as well.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Reeves?
Thank you for getting that off your chest.
Sorry about that.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
No, sir.
Commissioner Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick?
No comments, thank you.
Commissioner Carver?
Nothing, thank you.
I just want to say thank you, sir, and I do want to say thank you to the finance staff and everyone that's in the realm of dealing with our public monies, and I hope we get another award to put on the wall in the Summit building. So, looking forward to that. Thank you, sir, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Have a good trip. Oh, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson.
She ran after the court.
That's what relief does for you.
Who can sing? Who's the intermission music?
I'm sorry about that. All right. So there were some, just a few more touch points from the auditor. There were some technical errors noted in the Medicaid testing, but these were very basic documentation errors, and we're not required to respond to the LGC about those. So move on to the rest of the discussion topics for today. It's going to be general fund activity, fund balance position of the general fund, debt position, capital projects, and then I'll be available for questions. So the revenues and transfers for fiscal year 2023 total $91,407,723. That is an increase of 5.24% more than fiscal year 2022, or $4.5 million. Here's a chart of our different types of revenues. Our ad valorem taxes accounted for 56%, of total revenues at $50,856,301, followed by sales taxes at 26% for a total of $23,607,831. The restricted intergovernmental revenues account for 11% of the total revenues. The remaining revenue sources account for single-digit percentages, portions of the whole. Here's another revenue comparison. Most of the revenue categories over the last fiscal year had increases, with the exception of other taxes and permits and fees. Increases in sales tax and intergovernmental revenues, as well as the increase in investment earnings, assisted in the overall increase in annual revenues for the year. The largest percentage increase was for investment earnings as interest rates climbed over the year. While some revenue categories did not exceed last fiscal year, all but a few met and/or exceeded the revenues that were budgeted for fiscal year 2023. Property tax revenues had a slight increase in fiscal year 2023 from $50,353,304 in fiscal year 22. With the revaluation earlier this calendar year, property tax values are anticipated to continue the upward trend. The assessed value is shown here as three different categories: real, personal, and utility properties. Real is made up of residential and commercial and is reduced by tax-exempt property. Personal property saw the largest increase in assessed value by $170,798,155 over the prior fiscal year. This graph shows the split in types of real property, residential and commercial. The overall increase for this category was $18,198,532, with commercial real property increasing by $51.9 million. Tax collections continue to do an excellent job. We are at 99.28% of the levy collected, which includes a 99.19% if you exclude motor vehicle taxes. The reason we give you that percentage is because the motor vehicle tax is not actually 100%, but the state does the collections and submits to us all the revenues that they collect. So there could be outstanding motor vehicle taxes. Collections did exceed the budget by $1.9 million. This graph shows different tax articles compared by fiscal year. All articles except Article 40 exceed prior fiscal year collections. While there was a slight decrease in that category, we still exceeded budgeted revenues for that article by $84,975. Now on to the expenditures. The expenditures and transfers to other funds total $87,139,132. That's an increase of $1,425,503, or 1.66% from fiscal year 2022. The Human Services, General Government, and Education account for the majority of the county's expenditures. Education continues the leading trend for the county's expenditures with a total of $25,788,514. Each of the functions of government shown on the graph are independent from related debt service. The drops in expenditures for general government public safety can be attributed to reduced capital costs in general government and use of American Rescue Plan funds for certain public safety salaries. Moving on to education expenditures. The expenditures directly related to the Lee County school system for fiscal year 2023 were $28,447,902. This total does include the related debt service for Lee County schools of $7.2 million. This graph shows comparison of Board of Education funding for the previous fiscal year and the four before it. While current expense and capital outlay increased last fiscal fiscal year, debt service decreased slightly. This is due to debt payoff from existing issuances. Moving on to CCCC, education expenditures. We have had a considerable jump in debt service for CCCC due to the purchase of the Moore Center and the reissuance of that debt this in fiscal year 2023. The other expenditures include $920,000 annual appropriation for the Moore Center, $100,000 for capital outlay, $131,740 for special appropriation, $64,930 for the Civic Center, and a current expense of $305. Those do account for 16.07% of our general fund expenditures. So the bottom line would be the total revenues and transfers at $91,407,723, coupled with the IT subscription agreements, those lease liabilities issued. Those are the two most recent GASB accounting standards that were issued, less the total expenditures and transfers of $87,139,132, leave us with a net change in fund balance of positive $5.850, $5,850,400 increase. To put that in a little bit of perspective for you, the fiscal year 2024 budget you did approve already included a $3 million appropriation from fund balance. And then since the beginning of the fiscal year, you have appropriated an additional $1,937,415 for a total of $4,937,415 for this fiscal year to date. This does include some of rollovers from the prior fiscal year for goods or services that could not be completed last fiscal year. Our available fund balance is $29,172,494 as of June 30th, 2023. That is an increase of $4.6 million from 2022. In fiscal year 2021, the state changed from grouping counties as population-based to general fund expenditure-based. So it is over $100 million and then under $100 million. And so based on this, our minimum of available fund balance of our general fund expenditures is 20%. The median for our group with the last available information was 42.52%. We are at 34.10%, which is exceeding the board's financial policy target of 32%, so we are in good shape. This graph shows the fund balance history. The blue column is the total fund balance, and the maroon is the available fund balance. The lowest line is the minimum for our expenditure group. The middle, the board's minimum, and the top line is the target. Our outstanding debt at June 30th, 2023 was $72,660,814. This debt does not include the recent governmental general obligation bonds that we recently issued for the multi-sports complex, nor the LOPS, limited obligation bonds for the same. This is exclusively as of June 30th. The outstanding debt is broken up in between three different categories. As you can see here, 49% of our outstanding debt is related to the Lee County schools. 34% is related to CCCC, and 17% is related to general government, which would also include economic and physical development, recreation, and things like that. Our actual debt service payments are 14.30% of the general fund expenditures for fiscal year 2023. We do have a 15% financial policy maximum, and we are under that. The outstanding debt equals 1.15% of the total assessed value for fiscal year 2023, and we are under the 2% financial policy maximum. The county received $174,948,617 in grant funds in fiscal year 2023. Direct vendor payments included $158,379,131, which left $16,569,486 coming directly through the county. Part of the audit was a single audit of these grants, and programs that were audited included the Medical Assistance Program, the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Public School Building Capital Fund, lottery proceeds, and the Office of State Budget and Management, a special appropriations. There were 4 findings within the Medical Assistance Program that are being addressed with training. But the department did process 585,921 Medicaid claims during the fiscal year. Okay, moving on to the capital projects. The courthouse complex renovations, as well as the park improvements, they each still do have funds remaining, and they are being used for additional related needs and are being transferred to other projects based on the debt borrowing abilities. So that was $1.4 million was remaining in the courthouse. Park improvements was $1.1 million. The local government center renovations project had $222,025 left over, and those remaining funds have been earmarked for upcoming work that's needed. The CCCC Library Lee Early College renovation addition is in the hole, $594,873. The overall project is in the hole due to the required hazardous waste cleanup. The Lee County Government Library Fund is just getting started. We've not gone out to issue debt yet. The $2 million that you see as revenue is the funding that you approved for that you reallocated from the ARPA funds for the Board of Commissioners room, the multipurpose room. So we do have $1.4 million remaining until we do go out to debt issuance, potentially in the spring of 2024. Bob Hale Center has $332,067 remaining in that fund. The historic courthouse repairs is funded by a reimbursable grant and a transfer from the courthouse complex fund, and there are $53,620 remaining in that. That is an ongoing project that we are still just kind of getting started on. The multi-sports complex is currently in the hole because the debt had not been issued as of June 30th, 2023. So that was $3,868,139. We did go out to debt in September and October and issued $25 million in general obligation bonds and over $14 million in limited obligation bonds. The Kiwanis Children's Park Renovation Fund have funds remaining of $318,837. It is funded by a reimbursable Part F Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant for $209,000 and a transfer from the Park Improvements Fund. The Temple Park Phase 2 Fund has $313,568 remaining as of June 30th, and that was funded by a transfer from the general fund. I'd like to thank Thompson Price Scott Adams. Their audit manager, Brandy Turbeville, has been amazing as we navigate through our first audit without Lisa as the finance director. I thank the county departments for being very accommodating to the many requests that were received for information from us over many months. I thank Ms. Mentor and you, the Board of Commissioners, for your assistance and your patience as we work through this process. And I thank the finance staff. They have been invaluable as we get to this point. It has been a long process. The audit begins in June, and it reaches to this point. So it is a long process, and I thank everyone for their assistance in it.
Thank you, Ms. Seisman. Questions for Ms. Seisman? Commissioner Reeves?
No.
Commissioner Vorbeck?
No, sir.
Commissioner Connect?
Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick?
No questions, but just another comment to, again, thank you for each one of you and your staff. And I hope this report shows to people how committed we are as commissioners and as a county to our schools and education and our parks and recreation things to help our community out, and how frugal we are with their money. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
No comment.
Commissioner Carver, no comments. All I want to say is thank you. Thank you to the staff. Thank you to your staff. Thank you for the department chairs, all the work you put into this. It makes our heart warm to know that you're all good stewards of our money. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda are managers' reports. If we can do the, oh, you're going to still stay here.
I stayed up here. That's okay. The October 2023 monthly financial report is attached for your review. The ad valorem tax collections are at 23.11% of the adopted budget. Target percentage for expenditures at this point in the fiscal year is 33.33%. There are some departments who are over this target due to the inclusion of encumbrances. If encumbrances are excluded, IT remains over the target, but that is due to the payment of annual maintenance agreements.
Questions for Ms. Eisman on the financial report? Commissioner Carver?
No question.
Commissioner Lovick?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Connect? Commissioner Vorbeck?
No, sir.
Commissioner Reeves? Okay, no questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then just a brief upcoming dates and reminders from the county manager.
Before I go into those dates, though, I do have an announcement I would like to make that as of yesterday, we hired Ryan Falk as our new General Services Director. So we're happy to have him on board and taking over that role. He's been serving as our Deputy Director for the last year. So a lot has changed for him in the past few weeks or past few months. So he is moving up and happy to have him. And so, anyway.
Congratulations. I see you have Mr. Spivey over your left shoulder.
Couldn't do it without.
Absolutely. Glad to know that. Anything else?
Yeah, I will go over a few dates. Just a reminder that Friday at 10 a.m. we will be having our groundbreaking ceremony at the Lee County Athletic Park. It will be on site there. Parking will be at the Shallow Well Baptist Church, and we will be providing transportation from there to the site. So we look forward to having all of you there for that event. The retreat will be our next meeting, and that'll be on December 14th at 5:30 at the Civic Center Conference Room area. And then on Friday, we'll be in the Civic Center Room 103, and we'll be starting at 8:30 on December 15th. We will be closed December 25th, 26th, and 27th for the Christmas holidays, and also January 1st for New Year's Day. Our meetings in January will be kind of off kilter because of the holidays. So we will be meeting January 8th and January 22nd at 6 p.m. The 8th will be here at the McSwain Center, and on the 22nd, we'll be back at the Civic Center. And so we will also be closed January 15th for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then just to remind you all that we will be holding our first STARS presentation for the 24 calendar year at 8:30 in the Gordon Wicker Room on January 23rd. And if any of the commissioners can come out and join us in that presentation, we would love to have you. So I believe that's it for me.
Thank you. Questions for the manager? Commissioner Reeves? Commissioner Vorbeck? Commissioner Connect? Commissioner Lovick?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Carver?
What time do you want us there to pick up the transportation to the groundbreaking ceremony? 9:30 or?
I'd probably recommend 9:30. We're going to have, we'd like to try to have anybody that's going to be as part of the presentation there at 9:30 so we can kind of have a huddle before we get started.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Question?
I was just saying 1, 2, 3, go team. She said huddle.
Oh, huddle. Coaches.
It is.
Before we go into closed session, we can close with commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Carver.
I just want to recommend the parade that's coming up. I have been encouraged to show up as the mayor of Whoville. So that
Say again, please?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
say again, please?
Pardon?
Mayor of?
Whoville. Yeah, so I think the spirit of is very positive and encouraging for everybody to have a good time tonight. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Lovick.
Just again, thank you to all our staff and all our citizens of the county also. And I'll echo the parade tonight. It's a good event as always. Broadway's parade is Saturday. Come out for that. That's always a good parade. If you hadn't ever been there, I'd encourage that because it is pretty awesome. And again, the groundbreaking, just highlight those events again. Thank you.
Commissioner Connect.
Hope everybody had a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. I just want to thank everybody for your support and confidence, and for Chair, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Vorbeck.
Just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. We won't be, and have a Happy New Year. Looking forward to 2024. And yeah, hope everyone has a safe parade as well. So grab some pizza and hot chocolate.
Commissioner Reeves.
No, I think you made a very wise choice in Ryan's election, and thank you all for
And I wish to echo that comment. Ryan Falk, congratulations on your appointment. Looking forward to working with you. Just would like to wish all the staff and the department heads as well a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and glad that everybody got back safely from the Thanksgiving holidays. I do ask that we pray for peace in the Middle East and Israel and Ukraine. Unfortunately, we've had some of our naval vessels attacked, and we've had some losses in both theaters in the Pacific and in the Mediterranean. It's always a shame to have such a loss at a time when we're supposed to celebrate life. Thank you for the financial presentation. And the staff, of course, again, continuing on with doing a great job and being good stewards of the taxpayers' money. Without further ado, I wish to go into closed session. If Commissioner Connect can read the proclamation.
Yes, sir. I move we go into closed session per NC General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with our attorney to preserve attorney-client privilege. Thank you.
Need a motion on that? Remove to go into closed session. All
Motion
those
to go into closed session.
motion's been made to go into closed session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're now in closed session. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're back on. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion's been made to adjourn. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We're now adjourned. Thank you. Take care. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Drive safely. Wear your seatbelts. Watch out for the